Hey.
Oh, Spiegel. Und Schweizer?
Very behind today.
You're very behind.
Everything. We both are. All of us. Everything.
Yeah, one of those days.
It was just like I blinked and it was 9 o'clock. And then I went to log into YouTube and then YouTube wasn't letting me log in.
You did not.
You've got an under the weather kiddo at home.
You're running a little late.
Yeah. The bell came quickly.
Yes. So, Elonathan Musk tweeted out at 3:38 a.m. New York time, "I've made a huge mistake. Period." And then he went to sleep. Good night. Master of engagement? Yes. I wonder what he's talking about. Of course. Yesterday's...
The guy just buys Twitter and then 4 days later is like, I've made a huge mistake.
Well, there are the constant articles from the liberal elites. I'm kidding, by the way. But there are constant articles from the media about how Twitter is worth about $12 billion and Elon paid 44, ha ha ha, fucking idiot. And then, of course, he proposes this $20 a month thing. Stephen King says, no way. And he goes, okay, how about 8? And they're like, oh, brilliant Elon negotiating with Stephen King. And he gets it, they're really railing him on what they perceive as a huge mistake and a huge win for the extreme factions of society that Elon is going to unleash back upon an innocent, blue-haired, pussy-hat-wearing public. Anyway.
I can't. He loves himself so much.
Is that a wolf on his chest?
I don't know.
I think, You know what? Don't even zoom in. It is R2. And
wolf,
yes,
yeah.
That is intentional. Hint, hint. Something is wrong. Wait, what?
Danger.
The danger zone.
We're talking about influencer pumping. Oh my God.
Well, imagine if instead of Doge, he says, I think the native currency of the internet should be Stardust.
Oh, wow.
There's a pump in there somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, I think something would happen. Man, did you see Heidi Klum's Halloween costume?
I did. And
what a babe.
You know what, though? It had the best Hollywood production.
Oh, it was
quality makeup that I've seen. She hired someone to do a professional job. These other celebrities looked like, they got together with their friends and used shitty face paint. It was embarrassing,
Do billionaires have the equivalent of a dollar store where it's just like everything's only $100,000? This costume?
Oh yeah, of course. You got to understand.
$100,000 free?
Getting ripped off is a badge of honor in that. Whereas frugal, normal people feel like an ad, or like, oh, you paid $80 for those, I paid $60. It's the opposite in rich.
Check out this shit that I just paid $200,000 for.
They're like, ooh, you could have literally gotten the exact same thing for $200,000, but if Elon pays $300,000 for it from this other guy, you want it from that other guy just because that's what it looked. Every faction of society virtue signals in their own way. Understanding what those virtue signals are is the most profitable way to exist within society, because that is when people wake up every day, their main motivation in life is to signal to you the virtues they hold true. They do that in the way they dress. They do that in the way they talk. They do that in the careers they pick, the books they read, the podcasts they listen to. It is all to let you know who they are. Profit off of that.
Well, I mean, yeah, look at the fact that there's like massive, huge car companies that are built off of selling $350,000 cars. You know what I mean? Like, that is not a wide scale market that you're addressing. It's not. Where's the stuff? Let's put Kevin up here.
Hi, Kevin.
We need some more Kevin in our lives.
I saw a lot of people trying to play the angle that Art Gobblers art was so bad it was meme worthy, it was good, and I disagree. I think memes are largely unintentional. In other words,
the true viral memes, yeah. And like the reaction stuff always comes from like the reaction memes and GIFs and stuff like that generally come from a situation that was completely unintentional. Like you don't just get to sit there and take a picture of yourself and be like, check out this reaction.
And that's what Pixelmon was, right? Like that's a real thing. That's why Kevin is a meme. Okay, these aren't me. This is contrived. This is like, what will Web3 think is edgy? Ha ha ha. And Web3 played right into it because, you know, quite frankly, it's a bunch of high school kids who have found their new university, which is Twitter U, and that's fine. But it's gossip, it's nonsense, and these are not memeable in the way that something that's organic and unintentional is. This is an influencer pump. And guess what? I'm not even saying that's bad. I think anyone who's complaining about this, and that was until the latest controversy, which I'm sure we'll talk about later in the show. But
yeah, I think we have that queued up.
Anyone complaining about the influencers in this drop, etc., this thing wouldn't be 20 ETH without them. And they're not dumping on you. You know why? You don't have 20 ETH to buy that ugly, hideous thing. Who are they dumping on? The people that you would scowl at anyway. The wannabe influencers, the rich kids, all right? The people who have already made it. And guess what? They're up on their investment. And this goo is sitting at 2 ETH a coin. And I mean, come on.
I have mixed feelings about this because I do think you're right. Like it's one of those things that like it sucks to sit on the sidelines and watch everybody make that. But at the same time, like it didn't cost me anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's like there's a little bit of an element like sitting in your car and seeing a Ferrari pull up beside you. Like I like that car. I wish I could have that car, but I don't. I'm not going to be angry at the person that bought it. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And
it's more, it's not the same thing. I know it's not the same thing. And I get people's frustrations about it. I totally do. I really, really do. But I guess I'm just okay with sitting on the sideline for something like that. Okay. If you want to feel FOMO and you want to feel cope and all of that stuff, do it for something like Digidaigaku, which was free and had no allow list. And, you know, sucks if you missed it, sucks if you sold early, you know, fumbled the bag, whatever. Been there, done that. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But that's the kind of thing that you could feel cope on because it was fucking free and it was right there for anybody that just had the link at the right time and saw it. That's a tough one to miss out on. It's a tough one to misplay. This one, you had no chance. And unless you were buying off secondary, which was going for 15 ETH mere seconds after the mint started, which was hilarious. We'll talk about more about that too. But like, it's okay. It's all right. I mean,
you're complaining about not making the money they made. Like what? It makes no sense, right? You don't think they earned that money? You don't think that
apparently they had very long calls of advising the project. So yeah,
that shit pisses me off because I know it's bullshit. Okay.
Yeah. So my frustration surrounding all of this is all of the bullshit that is happening on top of it instead of just calling it like it is.
But guess what? That doesn't mean
Bloomberg was pretty fucking shameless in doing so.
And that doesn't mean I don't think they didn't earn it. They earned it because they built those followings. I mean, Andrew Wang is represented by the largest talent agency in the world. You didn't fucking do that. This is dividends for having built that. All right, you did not do that. So these people.
It's like saying, Floyd Mayweather. Oh, Floyd Mayweather makes $200,000 a second in his fight, and he made that for 25 minutes of work, and it's like that wasn't 25 minutes of work. That was a lifetime of work that culminated in that moment. You don't get to that point without some work. Some people might.
And what pisses you and me off is the PR spin afterwards, because we understand what's happening here.
It's all fucking masturbatory.
And the thing is, we don't care. Like, I say this practically every day now, because I find 99.999% of the quote unquote controversies in this industry drummed up nonsense. But it's like, this is an unregulated casino, okay? Do not trust anybody. I don't care how good it looks. Just don't trust anybody. And now you can go about your day and you're not emotionally attached to anything. You don't care. You can place bets unemotionally on the things that have hype, right? People keep trying to break down the NFT market into metas. There's this meta and there's this niche, and you shouldn't do more than one niche. You should either pick PFPs or pick web. It's all fucking nonsense. There is one niche within NFTs, and that is hype. And that is learning where the hype cycles are, okay? And hype builds on anything at any time, all right? When you see trends, that's just because a bunch of derivatives follow something right afterwards. And in a bull market, there's liquidity and juice for those things to have legs. But any project of any type can become the thing at any time. We've talked about ways on this show of how to analyze that. If something in this bear market is only hype within alpha rooms, I think it has a pretty low chance of having a big sustained cook afterwards. If you have both hype on Twitter, from people you don't know, famous people, random people, etc., and you have alpha room hype, I think you get things like Moonbirds. I think you get things like Art Gobblers. And look, we have another, Ether seems to be maybe the most hyped of the three coming up left. But of course, you have Valhalla, Meme Land, and KPR, which I believe is minting either today or tomorrow.
KPR is minting at 11 today, the allow list.
11 today,
which is fully potentially oversubscribed. They did it in an interesting way, actually. We'll talk about that too, because that's one of the main topics we got. Let's just get into an introduction here, and I'm going to let you talk about markets a little bit, because today actually is a day that stuff is going on in the markets. Obviously, the Fed potentially raising interest rates. But guys, what's up? It is the first show of November, and it is crazy. Now that I think about it, apart from our hiatuses, we are pretty much well over a year of doing this show, which I didn't even realize. We didn't have any kind of formal birthday party or anything for it. But it did dawn on me that I was coming up on my 1-year anniversary of leaving the restaurant industry full time. And we had been doing the show for actually quite some time before that. So that was pretty interesting to me, but I cannot believe that we are almost through 2022, and it's going to be fun because we can actually start doing some retrospective looks at some of our takes towards the end of last year, because we talked a lot about what we thought would be prevalent in NFTs. Now, obviously that was not with the assumption that a giant bear market was going to hit and things were going to get pretty bleak out there. But I think we had some decent conversations about that and some complete misses. Music NFTs never seem to happen. but yeah,
they're a joke now, where if anyone talks about, like, people don't even understand the technology and potential of it, someone will go music NFT. They'll just post it right underneath as like a very subtle troll, like, yeah. Like, and we've talked about it a lot, that up until, and we thought it would happen this year, but we were talking about how up until now, the ideas and the railways weren't there to make music NFTs interesting. But we gave certain examples of how a band, a very famous performer or band could sell the first 3 rows of their concerts as NFTs. And then you own that seat. You can trade that seat. You can rent it out, sell it, all that type of stuff. That would be an innovative way for music NFTs. Just minting a song as an NFT, I would say, unless it was done in a Wu-Tang Clan, there's only one special auction. Like, sure, I think you'll see those.
Yeah, that gold disc, the original NFT.
Yeah. Look, and the thing is, though, the way people are doing it, and just the way they're kind of doing photography NFTs as well. And it's like, oh, FMC, what, it's a picture. What more can you do? I just think that at its core, and we talk about this a lot on Terrestrial Thursdays when we talk about Web3 gaming and technology, but at its core, what's really innovative here obviously isn't the art. I mean, art has always existed, and it's basically being brought digital now, which is great. But what's interesting here is the technology, right? And how that technology can be leveraged in interesting ways. So when you think about music and photography NFTs, if you have one of those futuristic minds, maybe you can see the potential and what could come, but it's just not there yet. The ability isn't there yet. So what people are doing now, good on them. And I would encourage you, if you are a musician or photographer, to put your head down and just keep doing it, because nobody knows exactly what's going to work in NFTs. And you just never know when a collector is going to find you and decide, you're the thing. I'm not saying we should dissuade that, but when we were talking about like large trends that are going to move the needle within the industry, that didn't come to fruition this year. And I think it's largely because the railways or back end is just not there yet for it to happen.
Music is a typically pretty slow moving industry too, right? And like obviously it's always kind of ripe for disruption, just simply because the actual traditional industry doesn't move very quickly on these things. But it's those new artists that come and they don't have the record label contracts that are at least going to start that, or the existing or old school ones that aren't reliant on these big record label. They've made their money and now they can experiment and dabble in different things, like Nas. He does stuff like that, right? And I guess thinking about it, there is going to be a little bit of time for that shift to kind of take place, but there's tons and tons and tons of utility that can be built into that. And I think it's going to be a great tool for up and coming bands to kind of raise money, like Kickstarter, in the same way that a lot of NFT projects, a lot of NFT games and stuff have done so. And it could be very valuable to own one of the first 1,000 copies of an album that they put out that's minted as an NFT, and that gives you the right to actually listen to it or something like that, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Like a small band minting 1,000 copies of an album as an NFT and selling them for $20. I mean, $20,000 could go a long way for a small band to just get some equipment or just be able to hit the road for a small tour and really get some exposure too, right? Like, it doesn't have to be huge numbers, giant stadiums and backstage passes and stuff like that.
I think obviously what you're going to see first is people who already have built up value in their fan base with the ability to monetize that through NFTs, right? And we always hope as consumers, they do that in an innovative way that shows care for the customer versus a cash grabby way that does not. But this is certainly going to be a top-down thing in that aspect. And you think about what Elon is at least, rumored to be doing over at Twitter and how that can play into it. I really think the social component and the ability to consume and find Web3 content is going to be very big. And that's going to have a social component. So Web3 social media, which we know we talk about BitClout a lot, which was the right idea at the wrong time. We see Elon trying to do that with Twitter, and we know that digital Web3 identity is something that even the Bitcoin Maxi Lightning people really talk about a lot. So that is where I think there is so much potential for those areas of NFT that just aren't there yet. You need those components there. Social, hardware, and that's happening right now. So like I said, keep at it and be there at the forefront.
Yeah, true. And you know what? Actually, honestly, just to kind of cap off the random music discussion that I led us into, but I always think about that interview that we did with the CEO of Monster Cat. Like, I thought they were doing interesting things, and that platform was. I'm still holding the NFT that I minted then. You know, I typically like to just hold these things and not sell them just because, but you know, that is a very Web3 capable company. Like, if they really want to shift in that direction too, and they kind of already have. So, yeah, lots of
Everyone
potential.
in the audience will learn that once you've been in NFTs for a few years, the NFTs you forgot about, all of a sudden one day you get an email for an offer and you're like, oh shit, I remember that NFT. Then all of a sudden you're a huge bull and a huge fan of that
Yeah,
community
yeah,
again.
yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
you guys need to see that, of course. But it will happen to you. That's why, you know, unless you desperately need the money for food or rent, there's no reason to go sell the dust in your hidden folder for pennies when you could just leave it that, you know, if you had a $15 doll laying around your house, you wouldn't feel the need to go liquidate it for 15 bucks,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. No reason to do that with these random NFTs that I am dead. I don't know. You remember last year I had some NFT that was airdropped to me for free.
Yes.
And all of
Yeah.
a sudden
Yeah.
I got a 1 ETH offer, like one morning, like an ETH, and ETH was
Yeah.
$3,000, right? This thing was dust. It was dust. And guess what? It's still dust. That one person offered me an ETH for this thing, and the art and collection has never seen a bid since. This is NFTs for you. Don't just sell your dust for no reason. Look, if you need the money for food, that is priority.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Gotta be alive.
Yeah, it is funny. Like that desire of, like, you see people buy something for like 2 ETH and then the whole thing just comes crashing down and they list it for like 0.05 or something. Like, again, if you need the money, you need the money. But what a precarious situation to put yourself in, buying something at 2 ETH if you were even close to needing the money. Regardless, like, you know, again, you can over leverage. I get it.
Listen to Uncle R2.
Yeah.
You been in that position in the first place, young man.
I know, right? I'm not my name is not matching up with my my thesis. So just go pure degen. Believe me,
do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say,
Right.
not as I do.
Yeah, it's all magical internet money, right? So, but yeah. Anyways, guys, November 2nd, episode 161, and we're just going to jump right into the market discussion. Bitcoin, ETH, not doing too much. It's down a little bit. ETH dipping below 1,600. It's holding pretty strong at 1,550 though. We're seeing a little bit of a dip this morning. Bitcoin still holding above the 20K mark, which is nice and friendly. To $20,400. Dogecoin had a nice little pump last night, hitting $13, and it is still at
what?
13 cents. Sorry, 13 cents. Yeah,
I'm a millionaire.
Yeah. Free market just exits the show, and it's just like, fucking.
I quit, bitches.
Yeah. No, not $13. Sorry, but if you listen to free market, it might be there sometime in the next 45 years. Other than that,
45.
those are 45. Yeah, oh, I don't know. God. You'll say 45 months, but I don't know.
Yeah, 7 years. 7 years to 2029. Remember, the history rhymes, right? And we're gonna have a big crash in 2029. The 30s are gonna be tough. We may have a world war. Go to Canada.
We're just getting right back into the dirty 30s.
Yeah, but guys, today markets are flat across the board. S&P's leaning a little lower. Everything's leaning, you know. Nothing's going crazy. Why? You have the FOMC rate decision today at 2 p.m. Eastern. This will be about whether the Federal Reserve raises 50, 75, or 100 basis points. The outlier, 50 or 100, has at best 5% chance of happening. There is a 90% chance we get 75 bips. That is what people expect. What is not known for certain is whether they will speak dovishly. Sure.
Who sets those percentages? Is this like a Vegas line?
It is called the Fed's Funds Futures, okay? And you can look at them to see what market makers are predicting the rate hike will be. It's a literal betting line that was created down at the Chicago Market.
I was going to say, can you bet on this? But I guess
It-
that's just what participation
yeah,
in the market
but
is,
it's
right?
disguised. Yeah, but it's disguised as a futures contract. So
Right. Yeah.
that is how we know
You're
that
either going long
most
or
market.
short.
Right. Now, JP Morgan came out with a report the other day that if they happen to only raise 50 basis points, the stock market would rise 10 to 15% in a day. Now, if you people do not that would mean ETH and Bitcoin would probably be up 40 to 50% in a day, just for, to understand that kind of relative move in the stock market. It's not going to happen. Okay. That is how out of bounds. If they only raise 50 instead of the expected 75.
So
JP Morgan.
then why wouldn't it be 100%?
Then what do you mean?
Well, you said the odds of it happening are 90% and
Yes.
then 5% on either side of it.
Right.
But you're saying like it's not going to happen. But there is
because well, look, maybe it will, but I don't think if it does, I also don't think the market would be up 10 or 15. Remember, that would mean
I was going to ask if Nancy Pelosi has any money in the market right now. That'll tell you, but that's probably an off-bounds joke right now. So
that would mean that the stock market tripped 2 circuit breakers that day, and they halted the market because of upside volatility. Now, I do believe we will go limit up at some point because many market watchers and traders have been calling for limit down all year. That means we've talked about on the show when the market goes down more than 5% before 11 a.m. Hasn't happened yet. All the bad news and recession talk and inflation, we still haven't had limit down. But what I believe is that set us up for limit up because now nobody expects that type of up move. Nobody expects good things to happen. Everyone's now primed for bad things to happen. So the big thing that is happening at 2 p.m. is 75% rate, 75 basis point rate hike. Okay, that makes sense. We now don't know whether they are going to talk about what is being coined the soft pivot, right? A pivot would be when the Fed decides to lower interest rates to stimulate the economy. A soft pivot is when they pause and they stop and wait, okay? This has been the most aggressive Fed campaign in history this year, okay? The fact that it has not knocked the economy into the dirt is miraculous, incredible, a sign of just how strong the U.S. economy in particular is, that the job market hasn't even remotely been affected. Now, there will be effects next year, but you would have expected to see them already with the type of raises that have happened. If the Federal Reserve hints that they would like to pause and wait and see, let's give it a few months. We've gone crazy. Let's now wait a few months and see if we need to do any more. Markets are going to be up today. Now, I still think markets are close to a local top. There is a big volume gap at 39.80. If we got above that, markets would float another 5% high. It'd be huge. Markets would rip, okay? I actually think it's going to be a bull trap today where they talk soft pivot. We get up to 39.70 on the S&P, which is like 3% higher than here. And, you can expect ETH and Bitcoin to be up 5 or 6%, because of that, or at least up in sympathy with markets if that happens. But then I think it's a bull trap. I think 39.70 caps us. I think that we end up going back down. Eventually, we end up towards 37.80 on the S&P, 14.80 on ETH, and that will be the next area to buy. But I will caution that I think it will be a choppy sideways period until after CPI next week, which is on November 10th. But again, markets are paused right now waiting for a very, very big decision by the Fed, which we know what the meat of it will be, but we don't know whether they are actually thinking about pausing here. All likelihood says they are. I think that The eventual road here is 37.80. I just don't know if it's going to happen because they don't talk about a soft pivot and we tank right away, or because they do talk soft pivot, we get a bull trap rally today, and then tomorrow and Friday we come in and it's down. But there's your market prognosis. Coins and stocks are all waiting to see what Jerome has to say at 2 p.m. Eastern today.
And do we have like an estimated CPI print for November 10th, or does that not come in quite yet? Because there's always that number that there's always that number that they're expecting, and if it's lower, good. If it's higher, bad. And markets react somewhat accordingly. Although last time
I'll let you know what it is. Yeah, I'll let you know what it is right now. It could change slightly before next week, but right now, actually, they don't have the medium forecast out, it seems, yet. I'll have to go find the high frequency data. I can get it, but they don't have it out in public yet. Obviously, previous was.
What do you think it's going to be?
Well,
or rather, let me ask you this, because I know that I know what your expectations are. What do you think the expected CPI is going to be?
So I think
you always come in lower. You're like, everything's going down. We're great. Like you're the perpetual bull, which is great. But
I do think that it's going. I actually don't know whether it's going to come in hot or cold. I know that people are going to be expecting something similar to last month, which again was 8.2% on the headline and 6.6% on the core. And month over month core is what is paid attention to. And that was 0.6% last month. We want that to be coming in under 0.4% to indicate that inflation is under control. I actually do not know whether it will come in soft or hot.
Sure. You're saying the month over month. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I don't even have a feel, like I don't even have a gut feel. Here is what I know is that inflation started to ramp last November. So we have our first favorable year over year comparison. That's number one. Number two, all of the input indicators, like the prices that producers pay for things, have been in a downtrend for months and months and months. That's eventually going to reflect. Finally, wages and housing, which have been the quote unquote sticky parts of inflation and really the parts the Fed are targeting. The Fed wants to see a bear market in housing, and the Fed wants to see unemployment rate go up and wages stabilize, wages to stop going up, because those are the core causes of inflation right now. And the other day we found out there are still 10.4 million job openings in the United States. There are not enough workers. They should open the southern border completely. We cannot find enough workers in this country. The unemployment rate continues to go down, even as the labor participation rate continues to go up ever so slightly. So this is an interesting time we are in, and it could be the first soft report, and that would be a pretty clean, that would be easy. I'll tell you, because we got the signal that sellers were exhausted last time. Remember, the last report was hot, and we rallied off of it. Not just a rally, the best rally that markets have seen by a few metrics in decades, okay? That was off a hot report. If we got a soft report, it would look like confirmation that those people had the inside scoop, right? They knew it was coming. Inflation is peaked. Soft pivot is the talk, and everything is a go. I actually think it's the opposite of last time, where the harder thing to decipher now will be if it's a continued hot report. Because I actually believe, even with all the volatility surrounding it, we will still be in a general uptrend until the S&P gets up to about 4150. There, we're going to have real decision time. But I just think that sellers were so exhausted that there is not going to be resolution, or people are not going to come back in with real short bets until that level. And we'll find out if they're right by then. I think that's going to be around the end of November, early December, also when seasonality becomes bearish again. So I'm much more interested in the result this time than the reaction. Whereas last time, as I even wrote about on Substack, I was much more interested in the reaction than the actual number. This time, I would love to see confirmation that those early buyers and the people who covered on that last report were correct in their assumptions.
Yeah, I mean, I have some thoughts about the labor market too. I think that there's going to be a big influx back of like casual and like I don't want to say low level labor as if it's unskilled, but you know what I'm talking about, like the minimum wage and slightly plus kind of jobs, right? And there was this real common belief going around that it's like, oh, people just don't want to work anymore. People, just want to sit at home after the pandemic. It's changed. And like, that's why nobody's working at restaurants anymore. And I could tell you restaurants are very short staffed. And I don't think that that's the case because people never stopped having bills to pay, right? Like they still have to make money, but making money, especially lately, has been way way easier than it has almost ever been with the gig economy. You can be an Uber driver, you can be an Uber Eats driver, you can be an Instacart shopper and go get groceries. You can, Amazon was hiring people hand over fist, and it pulled a lot of the labor out of these normal jobs, these, retail jobs and whatnot, that couldn't compete with the prices that were being paid to get these people to move into the gig economy. But I do think that a lot of what's going on right now is going to retract that. I don't think people are going to be ordering from Uber Eats or DoorDash as much anymore because it's really fucking expensive, right? People, I think, are just starting to tighten up. And if the demand's not there, the drivers can't get the calls, they don't make as much money, and then they go, oh, I still have bills to pay. Where are they going to go? Now, all of a sudden, that labor kind of flips back into the market. And guess what? Wages go down because I don't know how it is in the States, but I can tell you from firsthand experience, like even dishwashers were commanding like a huge premium over the minimum wage because there was none of them. And it was just a supply and demand issue. They were needed and there was none of them to work. Now they are coming back. The supply is going up. The demand is staying the same or maybe even decreasing because people aren't going out quite as much anymore. I still don't think that they'll change their habits that much, but that labor will go down. And then when that labor starts to decrease, the businesses, especially small ones, don't feel the impetus to continue to increase their prices to stay profitable, right? And that I think is going to be a big key that I think we're just on the precipice of, like being kind of on the ground floor of it. I think I'm starting to see it now. I don't know. Does that make sense? Am I talking the right language here? Are you there?
I agree with you.
Oh.
I think that all the things we saw go crazy during the pandemic were still general trends, right? But as often happens during manias, and you never know why a mania will be spurred. This mania was spurred out of necessity. This wasn't people just like speculating on these things. This was, Zoom was a necessity. Order in was a necessity. These were necessities based on what governments were forcing people to do. Now, that caused quite the asymmetry in distance from the trend line, right? There's a general trend up in these technologies, but we got so far ahead of ourselves on that timeline that we have to come back to the mean, okay? And I think we're pretty close right now. We'll bounce off that mean and then probably revisit it again next year just to make sure it's nice and steady support as we know it is. But that is in general what has I don't think any of these things are going away. I still think the general trends will be, video conferencing and metaverses and works from homes and ordering, these are general trends that will continue. We just got really ahead of ourselves and it'll probably take a few years before we get back to those peaks.
But what a good little introduction to it, right?
Totally.
Like almost everybody in the world got a taste of it, right? And that was always like my big thing about crypto is like most people don't buy and go all in or load up on crypto the first time they're exposed to it.
Right.
They the seed has been planted. Okay, I get it. I see that it's there. I see that it's existed. First time I was like really aware of Bitcoin was, 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. I think you were even earlier than that. Definitely wasn't the first time I started buying it. But when I reheard somebody talking about it in 2017, before even the bull run there, I said, "Oh, it's still happening, eh?" Like, so I look back in. I said, "Oh, the price is still looks good. Like, there's something's happening here." And then you start to feel comfortable about it. In 10 years, and I think this is Zuckerberg's big bet, is it's not that the metaverse is going to exist tomorrow or next year or 3 years from now, although I would argue in a lot of ways it already does exist. It's that eventually people are going to just be a lot more cozier to the idea, and almost everybody had that taste of it in the last 2 years.
It was a rainy day in 2009. I ventured out to my homie's house.
You don't have to tell the story if you don't want to.
He was a programmer at the time for American. No, what was that company? Damn, I can't even remember. No, it wasn't Urban Outfitters. It wasn't American. Whatever. He was doing back end for them. I go over to his house. I was playing poker a lot, kind of professionally at the time, and he had a big projector screen, and I would put my poker tables up on his projector screen and just play there, and people would play electronic dance music in the background and do drugs, and it was an all-around vibe, as the kids would say. Now, we didn't call it that back then, but it was an interesting thing. And he had a back room where he, had his computer and he coded and stuff like that. And he brought me back there and he showed me this thing, and you could buy this thing called Bitcoin for 13 cents each with your PayPal account on this website.
Yeah.
And he was just like, it's money you could use on the internet. And I was like, okay. I laughed at him and I thought it was ridiculous.
1,500x from there. No, 150,000x from there.
150,000x from that point. But yeah, I saw Bitcoin pretty soon after it was launched because I guess just the right techies at the right time were aware of it. And you could use PayPal to buy it from this website. You would just, send PayPal.
I think age plays a lot into it too, right? Like, I think the people I know the people that were bullish on it that early were people that were affected by like the 2008 crash, and they saw the inefficiencies or the kind of or at least felt the man pulling the strings and sought something that was anti-establishment in that sense. And if you were bullish on it back then, you kind of had to be in that realm. You don't have to be now, but back then, for it to make sense to you, because it wasn't price that was doing it, right? Bitcoin at 20K feel like a much safer investment than spending $1,000 on Bitcoin when it was 13 cents, because you would say, why would I ever spend $1,000 on it there? But like you had to be a very particular person back then to be very excited and see the long-term prospect of it. And I think age and experience plays such a huge part in that, because I was 21 when Bitcoin came out. Also, by the way, October 31st, 14th anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper release. But I was in my very, very early 20s. I hadn't achieved any kind of financial independence or anything like that. Like, still in university, I knew what was going on in the markets and that's something bad, but it didn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. And so there wasn't that thing that was sitting there in the back of my mind being like, this is going to be important, right? So I try not to be too full of cope when I realize that, like, it makes sense that I wasn't bullish on it when I saw it at these points, and that 2017, even though that was late in terms of the price action, it finally clicked, and I'm glad that it finally did. But
yeah, it doesn't particularly.
That story sounds very cypherpunk, though. Like,
yes, it was cool.
Cords, cables everywhere, and
it was in like a loft that was actually a retail spot in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, before Williamsburg became what it is today. So it was grungy. It was like, this was the vibe. I'm telling. This is exactly what kids would call the vibe. And Yeah, again, it really doesn't even matter to me at this point. I don't care what happened in the past. It's
Yeah, no, and you
you
can't
get
you
to
can't
eventually
can't
as a
can't
trader,
sleep on
or
it.
you go broke. Those are your two options.
Just
You
want
can
to
be
say shout out
married
to
to your past mistakes, or you can be poor. Those are your two.
Cambo and Wiper. I don't know if the chat is just really quiet today, but I was having some problems with YouTube, and I thought maybe it was me earlier, but there was some issue with the sign in function or whatnot. So maybe it's just a matter of people having some issues. Maybe it's a more of a
Canadian
YouTube
thing.
YouTube
Oh,
wide thing. Yeah, blame it on Canada. It's all good. I don't care. Although I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. There's the big conversation going on with the censorship
ooh.
on YouTube and stuff like that. Driving me nuts. We
Oh,
don't need.
Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
It's funny how freedom and free speech has become such a dirty word lately, especially here. Anyways, let's not get into that. Let's talk about art gobblers. I mean, that's been the topic of the town for the past 2 days. It was we the last time we talked about it pre-mint. It was minting a couple hours later. I tuned in. I logged in to check it out. It was minting at 4:20 Eastern time on Monday, and
That's a marijuana reference, in case the audience.
um, oh yeah, 4:20. Yeah. Sorry, I was reading chat at the same time. Yeah, and I was ready to go. I was thinking like, oh, if these things are sub 1 ETH, I'll probably pick up a couple of them. Like, oh, if it got to 0.75, that'd be juicy. Like, I think we all knew that it was going to be a cook. I didn't realize that they were selling the allow list spots pre-mint in like the kind of back channel, like informal way for 3 ETH. So
I should have gotten 10.
yeah, yeah. The first mints happened, and this is where it got really interesting because normally you don't get a lot of secondary action on NFTs until most of the allow list has minted and you kind of see where it's going on. But this was a fully subscribed one and it was hyped, so it made sense that people were going to start picking them up right away. Now, when the mints start to hit and they start to register on OpenSea and people start listing them, you always see these people that kind of list them for an obscene amount of ETH, right? And trying to just poke and prod and see if somebody will bite. The first sale went off at 6.9 ETH. The second sale went off at 5 ETH, and I was like, oh man, like wow, good pickup on or sorry, good sale on that for those two individuals. Boy, was I wrong. And they were probably kicking themselves too because it immediately went to 12 ETH, 13 ETH, 15 ETH. It bounced around a lot there just as the supply started hitting the market, but I mean it really quickly solidified at 12, 13 ETH. There was some very brief times where the supply shock hit and it got up to 15, 16 ETH, and they were flying. I had no interest in picking them up at that point. Now, that being said, right now they are kind of just around that price. So the real winners here right now are the people who are able to mint. It is sitting at 17 ETH right now and almost 10,000 ETH in volume. I think we made the joke that art gobblers could see more daily or more volume in the project than last week's total NFT volume combined. It's looking to be that case. It didn't really stop there though. There was a lot going on, as with any super hyped project that ends up going to 20, 30, $40,000 USD. Outcome the pitchforks about who got to be a part of this, why they got to be a part of it. The influencer pumps. We talked about the copy pasta thing that was going on. And then it started to get very frustrating for people. I mean, this has got 1.8 thousand items in the collection, and I think there's a very real sense of cope, not cope. I shouldn't say cope, anger, and that has started to shift in other forms. I woke up this morning to see that Justin Roiland, who of course is the artist for Rick and Morty, that launched this project, was now embroiled in a potential pedophilia scandal. Andrew Wang was posing as a 13-year-old doing art for art gobblers and tweeting it out, getting a allow list that way, or I don't know what the whole story was there. There was some art made for it, and then he came out and said, I just wanted to be an artist. And like it's just, there's a lot of really weird stuff going on. Then when that happened, some old tweets or some old controversy, I don't even know. Like, again, this is all like, I woke up and just started trying to dig into this as fast as possible, and I woke up a little bit late this morning. There's some old tweets or stuff going on that Justin Roiland was, involved with a 17-year-old girl. Like, this is absolute wild NFT stuff. I think you probably have your finger on the pulse of what's going on here a little bit more. Do you want to just go on it?
Yeah, there was the controversy over the
weekend.
weekend.
And they revealed, by the way, sorry.
Yeah, there was the controversy over the weekend in regards to the copy pasta that was intentional or unintentional, who cares? That was your first level of anger with everybody. Then it wasn't just a cook, it was a Moonbirds, Digidaigaku level, generational wealth, haha, you missed out type of cook. So now we have a second level of anger as all these influencers who got whitelist for talking about it sold or held and have made over 20 grand because of it. So now you had two levels of anger that the public had built up towards this mint. And then finally, as all of these controversies seem to devolve into pedophilia, we have a very, very weird incident of one of these influencers, Andrew Wang, setting up an account where he LARPed as a 13-year-old artist. Now, Andrew's angle is, I never promoted the account. Nobody figured it out. I did not tell anybody. But in NFTs, people do not view me as an artist. People view me as a microphone, influencer, dollar bag to them. This was a way for me to express my art without the criticisms from everybody else. And he continued to say, I don't care anymore. I just want to make art and I don't really, blah, 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 blah. This then continued on as people investigated Justin Roiland, who allegedly text message, and I only say allegedly, we saw screenshots of text messages. They're probably real. I don't know. I'm taking everything at face here. Okay. I'm taking everything. I do not know anything is verified. We are going by the controversy we have seen on Twitter. Justin Roiland,
it's all happening very quickly, and you at this point have to kind of just take everything at face value and then see where all of the chips lie after.
And it seems that he attempted to be romantically involved with somebody who was 17, turning 18 in a few months, in which there were 3 incidents screenshotted, of which one, he uses the word homo twice in 2 sentences with this person, which I suppose is controversial. You can go read them for yourself. Then he makes some sexual suggestive text to this person as well. And he also tried to set them up with somebody else at a party who was also supposedly of age, as this person was underage. This is now, again, turned into the entire project being a, pedophilia ring and elites. It's very QAnon-esque in the sensationalism of it, and it's also unfortunate and sad the type of marketing that seems to have been attempted here and just blew up in everybody's face. I mean, what was going through Andrew Wang's mind to LARP on the internet as a minor in this day and age?
I think this is the big thing that needs to be kind of just dealt with here, right? Because scrolling through the Twitter commentary, I see a lot of people like putting this on Justin Roiland, and obviously there's some questionable things that happened in the past that, or allegedly happened in the past, as you said and mentioned. Andrew Wang like full on came out and said that that was his account, and like there was some odd stuff being posted. Like I just marketing, all these weird marketing gimmicks and tactics, the copy pasta, fine, getting the influencers on board and using their following to or leveraging their following to shine a light on your project and get it there, as if the Rick and Morty creator needed any more help. Fine, it got people excited, and I think it achieved the right thing, whether you agree with it or not. You can't argue that that was successful. I mean, it opened at a 15 ETH, 15 ETH floor, basically, which is completely unheard of. I was like racking my brain trying to figure out what mint, free or not, opened essentially at 15 ETH. You could argue the USD price might not be as high as something like a Mechaverse, which opened at 9 or 10 and it was a lot more expensive. But especially in this kind of market, it was absolutely wild. So again, love it or hate it, their marketing for this absolutely worked. I'm not upset at that. I wanted to buy some, but the price was way out of my price target, and I was fine with sitting on my hands and not doing anything with it. And I'll watch from the sidelines, and we'll talk about it on the show, and we can bitch about it in the Discord chat rooms. But for Andrew Wang to, pardon me, for Andrew Wang to create a pseudonymous 13-year-old for any purpose was just such a massive misstep. And I'm not saying that his intentions were evil, mean, sinister, or anything like that, but at the very least, it was just a completely boneheaded decision. There's no way, shape, or form that you can argue against that. And to say I just wanted to do the art, and people won't take me seriously if I do it as my normal name and blah blah blah. I'm sorry, but even if it was a marketing tactic and it was come up by, some really bright minds, say, Andrew, you should make this account and do, like, what part of you would say, yeah, great idea? Like, there is zero part of me that would ever think to create an account that's like moonlighting as a minor. This isn't being on a dating app and you're 35 and like, oh, I'll just put 32 or something like that, which shouldn't do regardless. But like, there's some levels of consequence there that are pretty shocking. And I mean, by all accounts, like, Andrew Wang is a great guy. He's had a great reputation in this space. It's just such a bizarre thing to do, right? Like, if nothing else, like, that is just a bizarre thing to do.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing to do. And again, all Andrew Wang has ever done is be great at media and amass followers. And if because he did this very weird thing, you want to unfollow him, go for it. What it's turning into is, disgusting cancel culture, rage, poors angry at the rich, elites it's turned into nonsense. But they have given them the fuel for this nonsense. So it's all just, it's sad that we have to talk about it, in my humble opinion, when I think what's more interesting here is a fabulous cook in a bear market with classic Ponzonomics, which, oh, baby, please, Lord, give us one more Ponzi cycle. I ask. I am such a proponent of these type of projects. I tweeted the other day. I think we even showed the tweet on the show. I lean into the token. Have a token before you even know what you want to do with it. Get hype. Get a bunch of influencers to talk about it. Get VCs behind you. It's what we want. It's the game. The game isn't the game. The game is knowing when to sell the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to like my original point too that we had in the pre-show there. It is okay to not like participate in this too, right? Like, I totally get the frustration. I totally get the people that kind of made out like bandits, and the influencers that were very clearly selling and all of that stuff, but they are allowed to. And the people that were buying one or multiple of these at 15 ETH, 16 ETH, like, I don't think that this is just, especially especially in this market right now, I don't think that this is a bunch of new unsuspecting sheep that just entered the NFT market, and these are influencers that are fleecing them of their over leveraged selves, right? Like I don't think that there's a lot of people in this market right now that are sitting on huge bags that they took out massive loans for, and they're hanging on by a thread and trying to trade this as a last ditch effort. I'm sure there might be a couple, but again, that's your own risk
And
portfolio or
and
profile, and you got to be comfortable with that. But I don't think that this 10,000 ETH in volume was all just um helpless people just getting absolutely fleeced. You
and of,
can't convince me of that.
and of course, these smooth-brained morons in the Twitterati tried to spin the tired common take of, oh, this art looks so bad. What is the state of NFTs? And then, oh, these are so, look at this art. And
Dude,
how could
well,
people buy
let's
it?
talk about that. I saw them. I opened them up and revealed them, and I said, "Damn, these are actually pretty good."
They're great. And look at the website. It's high quality art from a famous dude. All right. Like the fact that they tried to spin this as bad art was already pathetic. And then that they tried to say it was so bad it's memeable. You don't even know what you're talking about. This is intentional. This is from someone plugged into our culture. This is a guy who knows what he's doing. This isn't Pixelmon accidentally creating the meme of the year with Kevin. Hi, Kevin. I see you there in the corner.
Yeah, we put
This
Kevin down
is
there for the
this
special
is
occasion.
intentional. This is contrived. And I don't use those words with negative connotation. We are here to analyze hype cycles. We're here to analyze trade. And all this is, when you just zoom out far enough, is a perfectly executed hype cycle. Why are these 17 ETH? Well, it's a 2,000 supply. We saw Digidaigaku get that high. That's not too crazy to me. And it had the right height. There's nothing unusual going on here.
This is not pleasant art to look at. I think we could probably agree with that. Like, I'm not hanging this on my wall or anything.
It's supposed to be pleasant.
No, but that's like the Goblin Town, right? Like everyone said, "Oh, that art is shit." It was not shit. That art was not shit. It was very well done. It just wasn't necessarily nice to look at. There is a big difference.
This
right?
doesn't look easy to do.
Beeple's art is not always nice to look at, but it's very well done. And you don't see too many people arguing that fact.
Do you think this looks easy to do as a generative collection?
No,
those
God,
look
no.
like hard traits to match.
Those are very clean animations. They are sitting on, I mean, basically one body type. So I don't think that they'd be overly hard to match. But like, yeah, I mean, if you look at this arm and this arm, you would, they're doing the same thing, and it's kind of the same trait, but they have different tones to them. So you'd have to design all of those base layers differently. Like, yeah, there was a lot of work that went into this, no doubt about it, right? And with that much movement, you got to be pretty diligent in checking that there's not a lot of clashing or weird overlaps in it. Definitely not a simple thrown together.
No, and I tweeted out yesterday, hey, at least these aren't as bad as Azerbala. And what is bad about Azerbala? It's that
it all comes full circle to Azerbala.
All comes full circle. What was bad about it is that it reeked of low effort. Right? Yeah. That was what was bad about Azure. It wasn't necessarily the aesthetic or the traits. It was that it looked like low effort junk. Okay. This is classic NFT people not knowing how to analyze something, trying to drum up controversy because there's nothing else to do, and they farm for engagement at the lowest possible denominator. This is a great project. It's great art. It's a famous guy. Influencers got in. Oh, poor baby. Sorry, you didn't build up 100,000 person following. You build that following up, you can get all the free shit you want. And you'll do it too. Mark my words.
Yeah, it's
you will do it.
Yeah,
not you, but the people listening.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I've been pretty much stuck firmly at like 1,400 followers on Twitter.
Oh, fuck that. I was almost at the promise that, above, listen, above 10K, the algorithm starts to favor you more. You get,
no, it doesn't.
I'm not kidding. No. I'm not kidding. and also you're allowed to monetize. You're not allowed to monetize under 10K. So
right?
I can't, that super follow thing where people can pay a few
Yeah.
dollars, that type of thing where I could tweet out trades and levels versus whatever other tweets. That is only accessible to people over 10K. I was at 8,300 and then I was just hit with the shadow ban and it was game over.
No, you get some engagement. Oh, yeah, you're having a rough day.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, no, I'll shut up.
I'm having a rough couple months, and it's because of my content. There's no, it's obvious it's because of my content, but I don't particularly care. I'm just going to keep doing what I like and wait for people to figure out that it's the promised land. So.
It's all good. FMC is the goat, says
Oh.
Whitebird.
Oh, thank you.
What about me?
I know who you are, but I think
yeah.
To not say it out loud, so I'm not going to say it out loud.
It's all good. He already said it in chat.
I know, but maybe he thinks that can only be seen by certain people, whereas our broadcast is watched by none other than Elonathan Musk, who could tweet anything at any time. We know. That's why some of us hold Doge. We could we could tweet at any time. So, remember, Doge pumped 30% on him tweeting a picture of a Shiba Inu wearing a Twitter shirt looking at a pumpkin and a winky emoji. That was good for 30%. Imagine if he tweets a white paper. Holy shit.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, he's not swing trading this, but he does move the markets for sure. It's pretty wild. Let's get into KPR because that actually is coming up. I'm actually seeing in the DGen Dojo that there might have been an issue with the contract and that it already went live very briefly. They said botters started the contract. I don't know how that actually works, but I'm gonna try and find the official account here. OpenSea. Oh, there it is. Okay.
That's in 15 minutes, you said this one?
Well, it's supposed to be, but it looks like 27 already got minted, or 26. There was one that they minted to fire it up, but a couple already moving for 0.8 ETH right now.
Okay.
There's some sales here. That's actually coming in a little bit lower than I thought, but
I would say
that actually makes me pretty bullish that if they fire up that contract, that floor will go lower. And I don't see any problem with buying personally with my own liquidity, not financial advice. Kind of under 0.75 seems like a thing here, but I don't have a price target on where this goes. I think that as fun as art gobblers were, I think a lot of people are thinking that it's going to set this like high water mark of like, well, if art gobblers can go to 50 and then KPR can go to like 3 or 4, like I wouldn't be basing it on anything like that, anything at all. I think, getting this project up to 2 ETH would be a pretty substantial cook. I think. I don't know. What about you? I know it's super hyped, and it's a much bigger collection. There's much bigger dynamics, or much different dynamics going on here.
It is, as far as I can tell, only hype within alpha rooms, and the alpha rooms are, don't get me wrong, they're very passionate and hyped on it. I ain't see anybody talking about it on Twitter. And I don't know. I follow the right people. I can tell you when something's going to be an automatic. I can't tell you how to get into it. I knew art gobblers existed for a long time, but I'm way over whitelist grind. I don't give it. Tell me it's going to be a free $20,000. I'm still not logging into that Discord every day. It's beyond me at this point. I can't. But everyone knew about it, but it had the Twitter hype. Okay. These look amazing, very cool art. They have the alpha room hype, and it's one of those things that seems to be a great product. But we know great products don't mean anything. Art gobblers may have a faulty contract. It doesn't matter. It's all hype. Okay. If we're on this show talking about like we want to mint this to make money, or we want to buy this project to make ETH and all this, that is. I really think you need a combination of, I guess, what you would call Main Street hype because it's coming up on social media versus just alpha rooms who this is all they do all day. And when you go to other alpha rooms and see people talking about the same thing, your brain automatically starts making patterns like, oh, this is hype. Oh, this is hype. And it could be a great product, just like there's a bunch of projects out there with great products, but nobody cares.
Cambo asking about the that statement, beyond you or beneath you. I would say beyond. It's not a thing about being beneath you.
No,
Like,
no, 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 no,
it's
no.
an incredible amount of money if you have the time and the energy and the dedication to do it, and it absolutely is worth it. And I can guarantee you, and I'll let him speak for himself. But that's what Free Market was saying. But I kind of get that too. Like I already feel like sometimes I'm struggling for like hours in the day, right? Like just doing all of the stuff that you're already doing and then layering that in on top of it. And maybe that's an excuse and you can always find more time. But like, I just find it so mentally exhausting to try and find these discords and grind out whitelist, allow lists. Like I was very fortunate enough to fill out a form and get into the Valhalla one, but it was like maybe 4 minutes of work, and it was one of those like, I'm going to submit this and it is just take it or leave it, right? Like I have been in that Discord, I've been engaging a little bit and checking it out and stuff like that, but there wasn't this requirement of like, you got to work for this. And the people that can and have the bandwidth to do it, like by all means, it's an incredible opportunity, and we've seen people do really really well on that, but it would require kind of um placing other obligations on the back burner to do it well, right?
Especially the draw picture shit. Like you said, I was fine filling out an application for Valhalla. I will join a Discord. I will fill out an application. That is the limit of what my brain can handle after the last bull market. I just need a rest. I mean, if the great times came back, I'm sure I could get back into the swing of it. But right now, the type of projects like Art Gobblers are so far and few between that you're really taking a risk that you're going to be devoting all this time to something. I knew this was going to be
we saw a ton of projects just absolutely flop after requiring people to do ridiculous amounts of grinding in
Yeah,
Discords
I
and
don't
stuff
trust
like that.
anything in Discord. So
Like there were ones where like you had to have sent over like 30,000 messages in the Discord just based on like that MeBot leveling system or whatever. Like it was just like, and it was like that takes a lot of time, 40,000 messages and all of that stuff. Like, and again, if you can do it and you have the opportunity to do it across a ton of projects, then yeah, you're gonna probably strike it pretty big when you get like your invisible friends and whatnot. And that it was an absolute cook at the beginning. But again, it's such a unique situation that you have to be in to be able to do it.
Yep.
Galleyverse.
Couldn't break my head with it, but these are out there. If somebody has the time and energy, these still
I
exist.
remember Galleyverse. Yeah.
Farther and fewer between.
You remember these beautiful ones?
Ay. How did you bring that up so quickly?
I Googled. That was the actual like legit one. The other ones got all ripped off. There was the
Google.
Google. Oh yeah, you hate it.
You're rubbing your search engine capabilities in my face because I use DuckDuckGo and can't even find gmc.com on DuckDuckGo.
So KPR is coming up, I guess, again in 30 minutes, or not even 10 minutes now. The mint mechanics are kind of interesting. I think it's pretty much it's over allocated and under allocated. You can mint two at once, and I think everybody that is able to mint, or everybody that's on the allow list, will be guaranteed to mint two. You can mint a third if you so choose. They are 0.2 ETH each. And that third one, I think, is going to be the little bit of the race because they have implied that there will be a public sale there's a secondary list if it doesn't mint out. But the way that they have it set up is that it very likely will. I thought that was kind of an interesting little twist on the fully allow list, is that you dedicate this one, maybe 80% or 75% that everybody on the allow list can actually mint, and then you also give them the option to mint another one that will get you over the fully minted mark, or at the fully minted mark, I should say. I don't know that we've really seen somebody do that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I think a lot of these other projects are a little long in the tooth. I was so bullish on Meme Land, but I just say, in the last week, I've just started to get this feeling that the hype train has passed them by. And Valhalla and KPR, of course, you have today. Ether, on the other hand, really does seem to have that same type of hype as Art Gobblers. So that, to me, feels like your most automatic one going forward. But I'm worried about all the other ones. Top of the list, Meme Land. I was so bullish last week, and this week I'm just getting. Go with my gut. I can change. My feelings can change on a dime, and they did. In regard, I hope I have the whitelist, and I'm still minting because, again, this could be a situation where they make a great product, but nobody cares. So it just has to turn into a long-term investment. And I'm still going to mint it, but I gotta say, my gut tells me the hype train may have passed them by. I'm a little worried about that mint.
Oh, I'm seeing KPR is redeploying the contract. Redeploying the contract. Does that mean they're putting a new one up?
Special Edge, you beautiful, beautiful man. The fact that you get to pay off all your credit cards, and you get to throw it into the Meme Land mint, and you have some liquid. This is what, we were just talking against it or whatever, but man, when you do have a whitelist for something like this or a Moonbirds, it's just, it's such a nice little come up in your life. So huge congrats there, buddy.
Yeah, and for all of the anger and frustration that's out there surrounding it, and that this isn't even touching on the kind of all the weird controversies that are coming out of it, which hasn't affected the price yet, and also nobody's addressed it yet. It's great to hear that, there absolutely were people that got in on it. It wasn't like there was 2,000 influencers and it was just all them. I don't know, unless you're an influencer and I don't know it. But that's a huge win. Congrats. We should feel good about that.
Yeah, and you thank the influencers.
Yeah, right? Yeah. The influencers just paid off this man's credit card, and he gets to
come on,
funds into Meme Land. Big win.
And there's just a bunch of
not my win, not your win, but it's a big win, and that's great.
Yeah,
good stuff.
We love to see it. So, man, I hope all these other ones are. What I would love is for this to turn into an NFTs are back moment, and it could. Let's see. I mean, we have to get past macro headwinds that may potentially turn into tailwinds. That could be good for everybody. I think prices are so depressed, you could see NFTs rally in sympathy with other things early on, though I do think the higher coins go, the more NFTs are going to start to pause or reverse, just because, people want that liquidity, right? People are thirsty. They're thirsty.
I'm trying to find, again, not to just keep going on KPR. I'm just trying to find where they saw that the contract is being redeployed. You're
just clutching your pearls so hard with this project this morning.
Well, I'm not around at night this evening or this afternoon, and I actually did want to participate in this, even if it was just a little bit of a trade. And the degen in me is I
forgot you had your Chippendales shift on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And awkward.
Do people even know what that is anymore?
Male strippers. I was implying our to be stripping in the evening.
I wear a little a bow tie and take off all my clothes.
You know what I think about sometimes? Day strippers. Because, it's... Yeah. This is a nighttime profession. Yeah, there are some men that are so desperate, so with nothing to do, but maybe living off a disability check or an inheritance, that populate strip clubs during the day. And the B, this isn't the A squad that because you're not making the big bucks during the day. Your A squad is always going to go out when the most action is there, right? So this is your B squad, and everyone's beautiful on the inside. Let's just say that.
Were we talking about like strippers being one of the best economic indicators?
We were talking about that as a bit, yes, because a stripper went viral with a tweet that said that tips and patrons had dropped off dramatically back in, I forget if it was May or April or June, but it indicated a recession was coming, and it was an early indicator on recessions, which I can believe. The luxury goods business, which is one I watched very carefully when I was younger, is also can be a leading indicator for that, but none of them are perfect, and they all have their own internal business machinations going on at the same time. That's why I always say it's very hard to do nuanced NFT analysis during a general bear market. You just don't know why things are happening when you have this large overarching macro reason for anyone to sell anything at any time. So it's very difficult to really have nuanced analysis on projects that during a bull could be doing, much better or, be much more successful.
Yeah, 100%.
Some projects, we're not giving a blanket excuse for founders to fuck off here. What we're saying is that some projects are probably getting a unfair short end of the stick here, mainly because we're in a liquidity crisis, not because the project itself is doing anything that deserves that discount. Buy wolves.
This is really interesting. There are people buying KPR for 0.8, 0.75 right now, which seems like a decent entry point, but like, does it when when they've paused the contract? And 20, well, like before, if this was all going down without a hitch, I probably would have been buying here. But now the fact that it's only that, but there's also like only 27 of them, so these are just a couple of them trading hands. And also, like, again, I'm trying to figure out where people are seeing that they're redeploying the contract, which means that are these ones even going to be worth anything? I mean, maybe you could just feed them through a contract to move them over to the other one.
You could also just give them the adjacent token in the contract.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like you kind of burn one to claim the other, and like it's 27 of them, so all they would have to do is pre-mint them.
Then you rename it to Dead Collection, or you do something creative with it and make like, those special NFTs that you incorporate into your whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a tendency to reward people for being pure degen. Like remember the Barex debacle of the mint, and then people were minting a known scam contract knowing that the Barex team was going to refund them and then probably give them a allow list too as an apology. Like it was just like a weird reward structure that the opportunists take the chance that there's zero downside to it, which there probably is. Unfortunate stumble here for KPR though. But yeah, Valhalla. We didn't even talk about Elon. We ran an hour and a half on everything else. We didn't even talk about Elon doing the $8 Twitter thing and how that affects the blue check. Vitalik saying there's some red flags there, but could be interesting. He's trying different things. He's getting in there. He's mixing it up and seeing the reactions of people, including a notable artist, a notable author, Stephen King, who maybe times are tough, but says there's no way in hell that he's paying $200 a year for a blue check mark. I mean, you don't have to. Or do you? I don't know. How do you feel about the implementation of this? Do you think everybody should be able to get a blue check mark if they're just paying? Are you gone? Am I still here? Glad to see Vitalik do more after Sam Bankman-Fried began showing his misanthropy. Yeah, the hero has had quite a fall lately. FMC just bailed. Bye. I don't think it's unrealistic to charge people for the blue check mark just as a minor like skin in the game kind of thing, right? We've seen a lot of obvious scam accounts with the blue check marks because I guess at this point they're a dime a dozen. I've seen somebody saying that like for $2,000 you can get verified on Instagram because you have the right people. But yeah, Vitalik was supporting a KYC for verified accounts. That seems iffy to me. I mean, I would like to actually have that conversation, but why? Right? Like, what are you verifying against if not your identity and the right to be able to have a symbol that proves that your identity has been verified? I mean, that to me is what the blue chip means. And I'm all for pseudonymy and anonymity, which, you know, has been a very important part of Twitter's success, is the ability to have anonymous accounts, which is all fine. But I have to take that pseudonymity with the express knowledge that I probably shouldn't even have a check mark. Although I can be up here and say, yes, I am the official at R2DGen account on Twitter. And here's my face. And I could tweet something out right now that proves that I am. That's fine. But I always think that like having some skin in the game is important. And it doesn't have to be a break the bank amount, right? But, you know, if you have an influential role to play and people are reading your tweets as some kind of expert or somebody that's appreciated, and you have that blue check, I don't think $200 a year as a business expense is overly painful.
No, and I think
welcome back.
Yeah, I think that this is really just PR for the new Twitter, right? I don't think Elon is negotiating in public. I don't think any of this is what it seems on its face. He was leveraging the fact that Stephen King is a liberal icon and he's very good at drumming up controversy. And Elon hopped right in the middle of it. Everyone was like, oh, yeah. Stephen King negotiated Elon down to $8. You are an idiot. You know, this is very obvious, great PR for the new Twitter. And I think that right now you're seeing the hive mind that is its power base, its power users, decide the direction that it should go in. And I think we do have influence. I think that Elon and the team that is in the war room making the decisions is listening. But when you see the stuff like him getting into it with Stephen King, or as we talked about at the beginning of the show, his wonderful 3:30 a.m. tweet, I've made a huge mistake. And I don't even know if we've heard from him since. I haven't.
No, he's been tweeting.
He's been tweeting. But a master at PR continues to exhibit his craft to us, and people continue to take the bait. I'm very, as I said the other day, optimistic about the direction Twitter can go in, and I remain long dog money with a very big bullet to fire at 9.5 cents if it gets there. I think that there's so much volatility over the economic numbers being released over the next week or two that unless Elon directly tweets about Doge, it's going to have a hard time getting over that 16, 17 cent resistance that it bumps up against. But I think long term, I could not be more bullish on Doge or Twitter. And very, very happy so far at how I am seeing Elon take the reins here.
Did you? I think he deleted whatever tweet you're talking about as well.
Did he?
Yeah. 12 hours ago, last tweet.
I
Twitter
think I
speaks.
retweeted it. Let me
Yeah, it's gone.
see if it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's gone.
I love it. What a great troll too. Like, oh, maybe it was a text message to someone. You guys will never know.
There was this kind of like, not a big controversy, but there was this one going on Reddit because, again, they hate Elon now and want to see him lose this shirt in this deal. Whatever, he'll be fine. Don't really care either way. But there was this this woman who tweeted out, if you're the CEO of 3 companies or 3+ companies, the only thing that says to me is that CEOs don't do very much. Okay. Fine. I'm not even going to comment on that. It's all good. But her account went inactive. And boy, Reddit picked that up and said, oh, so much for free speech, Elon. She deleted the account.
It went inactive like her exercise life, I'm sure, because this is, this is trolling.
But there is a difference. If you go on to Donald Trump right now, it said this account is suspended. Hers was inactive, which means that she made it. Now, I'm pretty sure she got brigaded by the Elon stands, which I'm not for either.
Elonites, they're called. Elonites.
Oh, God, that's lame.
What? I just made that up. How dare you?
Oh, well.
I was trying to make it a thing. I thought you were going to be like, wow, that's really clever. I wonder who made that up. Me.
There's a difference between you coming up with that on the spot and going, like, okay, yeah, nice one. And then, like, actually, like, having that as your branding.
Elonites is brilliant.
No. 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 But regardless, I'm not for the brigading either. I mean, free speech goes both ways. Like, you have the ability to say what you want within reason that's not harmful to other people. But people also have the option of disagreeing with you, but also don't be a dick about it, right? You don't need to follow everybody around and tell them what an idiot they are for disagreeing with Elon too. Elon's not going to be offended or lose any sleep that this woman thinks that he's not doing any work. Neither should you. Regardless, it's just so funny how quick people are to jump on this idea without doing the very base level amount of research, because I can guarantee you now there's hundreds of thousands of people walking around going, Elon Musk deleted this woman's Twitter account because she disagreed with him. Didn't happen.
So much of life would be better for you if you just employed one simple rule, and that's don't be a dick. It sounds simple, yet the majority of humans on Earth fail that litmus test every day. Yeah. This is a very simple rule to live by. But I guess it's not. If it were simple, maybe people would.
Yeah, and this is where I get caught up with, especially here in Canada, right? Because we know the type of people that like free speech and freedom, those words have been kind of used into and incorporated into their branding. And I'm not, again, they are allowed to do that. And that's fine. There's no commentary on that, but it's that reaction to that, especially here, where it's just it's become this bad word.
Free speech protects hate speech. I'm sorry, it's sad.
There's legal precedents about that too.
Yeah. Hate speech is bad. It's awful.
Yes.
We don't like it, but it's protected under free speech.
And people that use hate speech guised as free speech is not good.
Yes, it is a tool that is used, but I have always said this from the beginning. These are private companies. They are not beholden to the Constitution beyond the laws that are set by Congress. Okay, it is not the law that you must allow free speech in your house. You can do whatever you want in your house, and it's the same with businesses. With the exception of laws specifically created for them, you can run your business how you see fit. And I think Elon's solution is going to be a lot more control about what you see, right? So the algorithm right now decides what you see. And the allegation, which very much seems to be true just based on user experience, is that it sends you the most controversial, sensationalist tweets that will get you riled up and more likely to engage with the platform. Now, a lot of the miscommunication and controversy online is likely caused by you seeing tweets that wouldn't normally come up in your sphere of influence, your circle, if this predatory algorithm wasn't feeding them to you. So I think Elon is saying we must preserve free speech, but you should have control about what you're exposed to. That sounds pretty level-headed to me.
Yeah, I remember listening to this conversation about like an algorithm marketplace, right? So, if all of Twitter is just out there in the open and open sourced and whatnot, the ability for individuals to create their own algorithm that's tailored to whatever they want it to be, and then putting it on a marketplace, whether it's for free or subscription or just a paid thing, and individuals being able to use those algorithms, basically like a list or whatnot, but like a little bit more wide reaching. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's just people you follow, and being able to have somebody's list. And like, that seems weird because you could just say, well, just make your own. Like, yeah, that's hard. Make your own, curate your own list. That's hard too. But like, if you're getting to a point where your kids are getting, it's redundant. If your kids are getting to the age where they're going to start using social media, and you want to be able to apply a specific algorithm to what they can and can't see, there's a real opportunity for somebody to have a business there that's like, a verified, provable, like kid-friendly algorithm that you might be able to pay $2 a month for, $3 a month for, and just make sure that it's applied to their account. And now you have some trust that's in a third party who's incentivized to operate in good faith because it's their business, right? I thought that was really cool. I don't know if you have a take on that or thinking about it, but like I just thought that was a very interesting way to kind of democratize the algorithm process.
Well, I think it's a fabulous way, but at its core, I think the idea is conflated with the stuff you want to see and the stuff that you engage with. It seems obvious that, you would engage with the stuff you want to see.
No, that's not.
That is not consistent. That is not true. And if the general change is that the algorithm instead favors stuff you want to see, I really think that it's not about making the other stuff disappear, right? It's about making an experience that doesn't make somebody angry, period.
Yes. However, if you have a system like this, and Twitter obviously would allow for it with their APIs and stuff like that, Twitter would be able to take a cut of every subscription or every payment. What a wonderful monetization process that they could implement. And now, because their monetization is dependent on promoting the use of these external algorithms, they don't have the same incentive to show you controversial topics in order to get you to engage, right?
Yep.
Like I think it's such an interesting shift. I don't know that it'll ever happen. I could see it happening. I think that there will be a demand for that eventually. I think it works well with Facebook. It works well with Instagram. And I would absolutely pay a small subscription fee or multiple to have different algorithms that are tailored to showing me what I want to see in entertainment, or what I want to see in sports, or what I want to see in crypto and NFTs and all of that stuff. That's fine with me. I don't know. I hope that this ends up happening.
Yeah, because algorithms create a better user experience. A lot of people will suggest you just switch your timeline to latest tweets, which is good. I do have it. Switch to that. But if you go switch to the algorithm, you will be like, damn, I missed everything. Everything you want to see, the algorithm delivers you. The problem is it also delivers you the stuff that gets you angry. So there is a worse user experience for just using a chronological timeline, and you want these companies to build an algorithm that makes the product better, not them richer.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Wow. We're in overtime. Working overtime.
Working 9 to 5.
Nothing that KPR was an hour delayed. I don't know. Whatever. Are we back on? Oh, wow. They're moving. Is it live? Must be live. No.
Whee! These will flip Gobblers by lunchtime.
Yeah, right.
Flippity flip flip.
No, they're not.
I want everyone listening to know that Doge flips Bitcoin at $2.91. Just so, in case you're keeping score.
A mere 20x from here without Bitcoin moving at all.
That's the only thing. The only caveat I'll say is if Doge is up that much, you'd expect Bitcoin to be up also. So it's probably going to be more like $4 or $5. But yeah, that's pretty.
I mean, in fairness, Bitcoin's up 2% in a week, and Doge is up 106%. So I mean, could at that rate, but yeah.
I will so confidently make this prediction because I've been making it for years. That Doge will flip Bitcoin. That it is a better. I have said this for years. I have record of me saying it on Twitter for years. And guess what? It has never been so true in my eyes as we are now maybe mere weeks or months away from it becoming the official currency of Twitter, the most important social media app in the world.
All right, let's shut it down.
I cannot wait for that morning. Oh, baby, that's going to be a good morning.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with you.
I don't care if it's a Tuesday. We're going on the air.
I don't know if I think Twitter is the most important social media platform, but I would have a hard time arguing against it.
It's the most important. It's not the most widely used or the most.
Yes, I totally understand that distinction for sure. I'm running out of voice here.
Woo.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Everyone that stuck around for that little ramble afterwards about Twitter and Elon, but good turnout today. Hit about 20 viewers for the whole time. Always fun. If you haven't, maybe just consider hitting the like button. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Yeah, if you tuned in late, we talked about the markets, the FOMC, what are they doing the print today? Or no, not the print. Sorry, the rate hike. What else did we talk about? We talked about obviously the art gobblers. That was a big part of the conversation. Talked a little bit about KPR, weird stuff going on there. Elon, Twitter. Talked a bit about music NFTs at the beginning too. That was kind of off the dome. We're just freestyling, just kicking it old school with a cipher about music NFTs. What else we got? Nothing. I guess we'll be back on at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Friday. Until then, I hope you guys have a great week. It's starting to get chilly out where we are. I've heard a couple people saying they're getting their first snowfall of the year. That's exciting. Pretty warm out where I am, actually. Surprisingly unseasonal up here in Canada, eh? But yeah, free market. I appreciate you, everybody that tuned in. Guys, appreciate you. Appreciate the conversation. We'll do it again on Friday. Get us out of here.
Good luck at the table, DJs.
Love it.